we needed a tool that was like easier than like an AutoCAD or a Revit, where you kind of had to know that for years before you really got good at it, right?
All right, welcome in one and all to SketchUp Talk Season 4. And this is the number one and best place to hear all about SketchUp. I am your co-host, Matt Robison. And with me, as always, is Aaron Dietzen, the SketchUp guy.
That's right. I got literally nowhere else to be, so I am always here.
He's here.
At the end of the show, everybody leaves and I just stay.
He'll be just on the mic all night. And also on the mic all night will be Aubrey, our super producer.
Hello, hello. Thanks for the introduction.
Yes, there she is. And she'll be helping out with all the AV and with any questions that we have come in, because in this season of SketchUp Talk, we'll have our live studio audience and they'll be listening along and interacting, asking questions. So we're always looking to hear from the SketchUp community, and that's how we're doing it this season.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be a lot of fun, because we are talking pro workflows this season, and we have a super pro today. I like to put titles on people to really up the expectations as much as possible, but Shannon Lightfoot, I can say it because I've heard Shannon talk about what he does before, and it's going to be good. He's going to talk about, well, I won't spoil it. He's going to talk about some good stuff. This is going to be good. So he is a VDC manager, McCarthy, and I cannot wait to talk to him about BIM and SketchUp and all those things. So
yeah, that's right. An all-timer, superstar, Basecamp presenter, and
visiting professionals program. He actually does part of that Trimble VPP also. So yeah, we should stop talking about him and talk to him. What would you say?
That's a good call.
All right. Here he is, folks. Here's our guest for today, Shannon Lightfoot.
Give him a hand. All right.
Hey, Shannon. Did you feel, was that good? Was that the appropriate amount of fanfare to bring you up with?
I think so. Yeah, I think you may have gone a little bit overboard with expert, all that. I mean, but no, it was good. I appreciate it.
Well, Matt wanted like a horn section, trumpets and stuff, but I told him we would dial back to just applause too. So hopefully.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's good.
All right. Well, welcome to SketchUp Talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, so I tend to do a mediocre job of introducing and describing what you do. I think one of the things we like to do is have you describe what it is you do, because you probably will do a better job than I do. So tell us about being a VDC manager. What's it all about?
So, in my role, I work with a general contractor. So McCarthy Building Companies is our firm. And what I do as a VDC manager is I help project teams, set up construction technology platforms. We help, folks coordinate between design, construction, and working with our subcontractors. We do a lot with business development. We help, win jobs as VDC professionals. We do a lot of recruiting and outreach, just like operations professionals. But we're engaged in every part of the project. So all the way from when we're pursuing a job all the way to a closeout. And there's some element of construction technology or building information modeling that gets integrated within that process. So whether that's, looking at the location of the site and how the logistics comes into play and how we're going to build the building, or, trying to figure out how we're going to coordinate all the MEP systems within the building when that comes from the designer and how we're going to install it. So there's a lot of areas where, we integrate in the construction and design process, where we bring value to that through using tools like SketchUp and, Revit and other construction technology that allows us to virtually build before we actually put boots on the ground and a shovel in the ground, and we're actually putting all the pieces together. So that's kind of a brief explanation of, how we apply the tools in each phase of the project.
So I was taking notes, and just to summarize, it kind of sounds like you're in charge of everything.
I wouldn't say that. We may be. I think we're involved in a lot of areas.
Okay, that sounds.
Definitely not doing everything. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I know you guys have an amazing team over there, and you guys get it done. So that was not meant to slight anybody, but it does sound like, in all reality, your position is one of coordination, and lots of fingers and lots of pots.
Yeah, definitely. When we look at projects, first we have to win the project, right? So, that's a big part of us actually executing when we do get awarded the project, is being involved in business development and talking to our clients about how we can bring value to them if we do win the project. And we show a lot of those scenarios up front during the business development process. We show them how we're going to build the job, how we're going to bring trucks in, how we're not going to disrupt their campus if they're on a campus. And, we create models to do that and communicate that. We used to just, have a conversation with the client and say, yes, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. And they're just like, well, what does that even mean? Like, show me, what do you mean by that? And I think that's when we really started to implement a lot of that BIM technology up front in business development, because it showed the client what we were going to do, how we were going to build it, what techniques we were going to use, how we were going to keep their project within budget, on time, on schedule. A lot of clients want to hear about that. They don't want to just hear about it. They want you to show them examples of how you've done it on past projects. And that's a lot of our sell of BIM and construction technology, is being able to show those examples early in the process, so that the client is comfortable with you, that they will hire you and want to work with you more on that project. So it's been a good strategy for us to win more projects, definitely.
That's awesome. I do want to call out too that you use the term BIM technology. You didn't say just BIM. You didn't say a BIM, which is a term that I hear every once in a while. And can I get a BIM for that?
Right.
Ooh,
just BIM.
Yeah.
It's the same, like when people say ATM machine, like I just feel like, you're going for it. I appreciate that, but
you say machine twice, because I think machine is in the acronym, right? And so a lot of people do say BIM model, and it's like, you just said building information model. Like,
exactly.
And so people don't realize that, but I mean, we understand what you're saying. But yeah, I like to use technology because sometimes it's more than just a model. And that's really the way it's going now in the industry, is that it's a lot about the data. You know what I mean? It's not about the physical 3D components. It's about those components, what data is embedded with those components, how they can utilize and extract that data for, maintaining the building and getting quantities and analyzing it. So there's a lot more technical aspects to BIM, and I think that's why we've kind of migrated to talking more about virtual design and construction, because it's morphed into more than just a 3D model. It's model, data, analysis, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
Nice.
I mean, that makes sense.
Do you feel like you and your team at McCarthy, does your use of this extra data, not just like plain model data, but more all this extra information, and like you're talking about metadata and stuff, does that give you a leg up over your competitors when it comes to pitching a project and trying to win work?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I think that's pretty standard in the industry now. And it's really based off how technology is moving and how much, virtual design and construction is improving, and more clients are wanting it on their project. I think it does give us a competitive advantage when we know what we're talking about, how we can apply it to their project versus just saying, hey, this piece of technology is here, we're just going to throw it on your project and use it. I think they want to know more about, what does that mean for me? Yes, this tool is here, everyone's using it, but what does that mean for me as the client? What does that mean for my building that I need to be opened at, December 1st, 2021? How can you get me from point A to point B? And if, ways that we do that is we try to connect the dots for them to show them what those tools are and how they can help along the way. So I think that's more of a competitive advantage is figuring out how to align those tools and technologies with what the owner actually wants out of the building, so that we can really have more understanding about what they need and make sure we're meeting their needs and expectations.
That's interesting. That was something I kind of caught on that. Do you feel like it's gotten to the point in VDC where that BIM information is being shared more? Because I know, like, okay, this is going back a ways, but for a while there, when people were developing more what this BIM was, it was like almost like top secret and guarded, and we have our information, and I think everybody's realizing you can't do that. You can't run that way. Yeah. But you're actually talking about using that information as a selling point and opening it up and showing more to the customer up front.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the customer does want to know, they want to be more informed. And that's what I think the most important thing is that they want to be informed about, how their building is doing as far as budget. Is it going to be on schedule? Am I getting the fancy lobby that I want? Am I getting the materials that I want when I walk in the building? I want to, be in love with this building. So being able to give them more information to make a decision on, hey, you know what? I really don't need that. We can save a few dollars here and we can probably put it towards this. Giving them that information for them to make that decision, I think, is way more powerful. And sharing that information is way more powerful now, because now they feel they're invested. They're the stakeholder. They're one of the stakeholders in the project, and they can make those decisions. So I think that's really what the information allows us to do, is just make decisions a lot earlier, being more informed about, different things, different aspects of the building. And then we can set ourselves up for success for the rest of the project.
That's awesome. I'm sorry, I get distracted. Sometimes I start writing things and then my brain stops.
No, that's all right.
So obviously a big thing that has impacted probably everybody everywhere on the planet has been COVID for the last over a year. What kind of impact are you guys seeing? And is it changing how you guys are going about, the virtual design construction process? Is that being adapted?
Yeah, it has. So, as someone working with technology, construction technology, a lot of the things that we do, it's things that we can do on our computer, right? It's things that we don't necessarily need to be on the site for. Like, if I have a shovel, I have to be on the site in order to pull some dirt out. Like there
are no virtual shovels. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. There's no virtual shovels. I can't do that. So, a lot of our work is virtual anyway. So it wasn't an impact to our team, because our team is really made up in the southern region of Dallas, Houston, and Atlanta offices. So we have BDC folks in each one of those offices, servicing those projects in those specific areas. So we would talk remotely anyway, via Teams or Skype or Zoom or whatever virtual, face-to-face virtual platform we use to talk and communicate and coordinate. But I think it did allow us all, our entire company, to see that we can continue to do this even if we did have to work remotely. We can continue to service projects. We can continue to coordinate. We can do virtual calls and look at a model and make sure that we don't have any clashes. One of the things that made it better for the construction industry is that we were deemed necessary for continuing to work. So I think a lot of the businesses that didn't saw a huge impact to the business, but because we were continuing to work without any interruption, I think that was really what helped us out in the construction industry, is that we were deemed necessary. Now we did see some projects that we thought were going to start, didn't start. They may have gotten pushed, or they may have just gotten shelved permanently, or just altogether not, wasn't a project anymore. They didn't have the budget, the funds, or something, impacted them in 2020 that didn't allow that project to start. So we did see a lot of that. But as far as the, being able to work and continue to do things, obviously there were some areas where, we thought, it's obviously we're better together, but we know the situation. We want to make sure everyone is safe, everyone is healthy, and we continue to operate, at a high level. But we had a little bit of a rough start because everyone was online. Not everyone had the tools. We didn't have the bandwidth. So IT was working, overnight trying to figure out how do we keep everybody online and connected. And I think that was part of it at the beginning. But, after about a month, everything was, business as usual for us. Obviously with the COVID policies on site and masking up and sanitizing and things like that, those were at the forefront of our processes.
It's been a big change, and we're going to have impact for a long time, but it's funny, something like this, doing a virtual podcast, it's really been no big deal because everybody's already got a camera, microphone, everybody's already set up to do this. So we couldn't have done this 2 years ago. Right,
exactly. I think a lot of businesses probably, increased revenue and, popularity because of the pandemic and, being remote and some of the technologies that kind of came up over that time.
Yeah, there's been some good things that came out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So going back to, let's talk some more about BIM technology.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, I mean, we've kind of come to the point where we understand that BIM's not a thing. It's not a BIM. BIM is not a single piece of software. The things that I've heard referred to as BIM being a workflow and BIM being, like you keep using the term BIM technologies. How, like, just ballpark, how many pieces of different software are in a full workflow for you guys?
I would say, probably 10. That would be a good round number. But I guess depending on the project, it could be more, could be less.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking about project management software. I'm thinking about, obviously the actual BIM authoring tools, any collaboration tools that are virtual, analysis tools, and they all integrate and work together in some way, right? Mm-hmm. So if we have a model in Revit and our design partner has given us that and we want to extract quantities from it so that we can tell the team how much the building is going to cost based on this design, that integrates with another piece of software that we use internally with our pre-construction department. And then we can utilize that for other things like scheduling or sequencing. And so there's some synergy with all the tools that we use in some way. When in the past, when we first started, integrating building information modeling, we were like, man, we just need that one program that does everything. And we were just hoping for that. And it was like, that's probably not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different variables involved. And I think we understand that, but we're embracing that too. We're just trying to find a lot of integrations with the technology so that our workflow is seamless. And that even though we're using, 10 tools, these tools work together this way, and this is the process, and this is how we put it together.
So let me play off that concept, mm-hmm. because if you could, can you picture an all-in-one tool at this point that would actually work for you? Not just like, because I still hear people go, oh, well, one day, and I'm like, no, because what you want is different from what mm-hmm. you want, and your first job is going to be different from your third job. Right. And you already said, depending on the job, you're going to use a different set of tools. Mm-hmm. So do you think that there's some kind of an awkward piece in this, these multi-pieces of technology?
Yeah, I don't see that happening. Like I said, I don't see there being one tool because, like you said, there's just so many variables now. And even on the client side, there's different challenges and needs from them and how they get the data and what they may want to use later on down the line. So what works for the general contractor may not work for the engineer, and may not work for the architect, and may not work for the owner and the trade contractor. So I think we have to embrace the different types of tools, but then, start to see what synergies do we have between them? What integrations do we have so that our workflows are, more seamless between each of the parties? But I think that's really how we're going to work in these tools or with these tools in the future.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So one of the things you talked about already earlier was sharing information with the customer. What does that look like? Is that like a lot of spreadsheets, reports? Is that a lot of model reviews? Is that VR? Is that you giving them something and then walking away and looking at it and coming back? Or is that hand holding? How does all that work?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of that. It really depends on how the client wants to view that information. So if they're used to spreadsheets, we kind of can customize it to what they want to see. If they just want to see that total number, we can show them that total number. We can show them a graph of, hey, this is how the number is trending. It's going up and down, and here's the design phase at which point it spiked, and now it's kind of normalizing and getting within budget. We can show them models as well that they can consume and understand what the materials look like. And to your point, you mentioned VR. That's been a good way for us to really get clients engaged in what their building is going to look like, after we're finished, so that they can then make decisions right now while the cost of those decisions are very low. VR has been a good way. We've used SketchUp for different types of VR presentations for clients, throughout the years, and that's really worked well for us. And just being able to communicate what their building looks like and get some feedback from them on what they want their building to look like. We got this design. This is what the design intent is. This is what we think you want out of a building. But, we could have missed something here, or there could have been a new challenge that came up that we didn't account for. And we want to make sure we have it right, virtually before we actually go out there and build it. And, those tools have all been really good, whether that's showing them a model in VR or as simple as giving them a spreadsheet or a graph. We've gone from one extreme to the other and everywhere in between. So
I guess that's the advantage of having a system of technology as opposed to going, well, we can print it out in landscape or portrait. Which would you prefer?
Yeah. Right.
So in case anybody out here is listening to this and going, that's awesome, I want to do what Shannon does. How did you get into this position where you're at now?
So I started out as an architectural engineer. My bachelor's degree is in architectural engineering from Tennessee State University. It's weird because even before that, even before I went to college, I was always hands-on with things. And it's weird. The story I think I tell everybody is, I was talking to my parents one day because I used to love roller coasters as a kid. And I was just like, man, if I can just build one of those things, or if I can design one of those things, like that would be the happiest person. Like, so I would love roller coasters. So I was like, what can I do to, build roller coasters? Like that's what I want to do. I think my parents told me something about engineering. They were like, maybe engineering. And I started looking into it. And there weren't a lot of schools that were focused on roller coasters. Ironic, that's weird. You would think every school would be focused on like designing roller coasters, right? But
there was like, right's important, yeah.
Right. So there were none. So I was just like, okay, well, maybe this is still the avenue, but maybe I can help design or build something else. So I think that's what got me into engineering was just that love of roller coasters, thinking that I would want to build that. I mean, later on, I was like, I don't really want to do that. That was just some fun thing that as a kid. But I think the engineering still stuck with me, but the hands-on really kind of transformed my my career path into something more like construction, which was, the opportunities at that time were pretty wide. You could go into construction. And really my thought process was, I was going to work in the field, managing subcontractors. And around 2000, I'll say 2009, 2010 is when the recession happened and not a lot of projects were going on. And a lot of our projects were utilizing tools, building information modeling tools to help in construction. So I didn't know a lot about it because I had used those tools in college, but at that time, they were kind of coming back, and general contractors were using it, not just architects and design firms. And my supervisor at the time was like, "Hey, I know you use these in college, and what is this program? And can you use it? And can you?" And I was like, "Well, I can probably refresh my memory and dig back into it, and I'll probably catch on quick." And I did. So I think that's what got me into virtual design and construction after I started in the construction career path. So I was a project engineer on site, but then I jumped right back into using the tools like SketchUp and Revit, and that's really how I learned about SketchUp. We needed a tool that was like easier than like an AutoCAD or a Revit, where you kind of had to know that for years before you really got good at it, right? So we were like, okay, we don't have a lot of time to learn these, so we need something in the interim that's going to kind of bridge that gap and help us communicate. So that's when we found SketchUp. And, there was a lot of folks at that time that were using it, and we started looking for plugins and ways to do stuff faster. And at, I want to say 10, 11, 12 years now, I've been using SketchUp. So it's still a part of our tool set. It's still a great tool for us to use in a lot of different ways, whether we're doing building enclosure or whether we're just communicating something to the design team or doing a logistics plan. We use it in whatever way. It's so flexible that we can really use it in any way. So that's kind of how I got back into it, into those virtual tools. And
you segued to the next question, which is how'd you get into SketchUp? And I didn't even have to. I'll just head out. You wrap this up. I
can see your paper. I can see your paper. The notes you wrote down. That's really how I got into it. Is it was really one of those things that I never thought I would even touch the tools again, because I thought construction was so far removed from design, and I thought that was just design. And I think a lot of the contractors thought that was just something that the designers did, and we didn't get involved with that. But once we realized that there was a lot of things we could take advantage of using the model, and we can kind of manipulate it if we had a little bit of expertise and understanding of the tool. And tools began to and other softwares began to spawn up for the contractor versus the designer, and the subcontractor. And there was all these specialty tools that were on the rise because everybody started to use them. So they were specialized things that we can each use that would be valuable to the whole process. And I think that's what kind of got my foothold back into virtual design and construction.
That's cool. I haven't looked at incoming questions in a while, but I'm sure this question is in there. So I apologize if I'm stealing your question, anybody, but I got to ask. When it comes to, obviously, one of the downsides to having multiple pieces of technology, multiple pieces of software, is passing that data back and forth, because that whole idea of, I'm going to say it again, a BIM, as having a single model that contains all the data for everybody, obviously that's not real. So how do you guys go about jumping one piece to the next? Is it, do you use intermediary files? Do you remodel things? How does that process go if you have to jump from, say, SketchUp to Revit or into MEP software? How does that work?
Yeah, I would say typically from a conceptual tool, because we kind of bucketize them into the different types of tools, right? So we would look at SketchUp or a similar software as something that's more conceptual, that's kind of organic. It can change. You can kind of paint materials on, and it's a very organic tool. And then we look at authoring software, which typically our design partners are using, like Revit and AutoCAD. And those are I don't want to say strictly, but they're more for design and engineering and the ability to actually produce documents from those tools traditionally. And then you have more specialized tools for the subcontractors, where they can create those models and send them to a fabrication machine and start cutting the steel and sheet metal and things like that. So a lot of the tools between the design and the fabrication are a little more seamless. They're not totally seamless, but they're more seamless than some of the conceptual models. But I think the way we kind of talk to each one is is because there's not a lot of different tools when you think about it. I mean, it's basically Revit and AutoCAD on the design side, which is pretty similar to what our fabricators are using. So a lot of those file formats will go directly into those fabrication tools with the same format like DWG, RVT, and even SketchUp. A lot of those models can be imported. Now they may not translate over one-to-one, and you may have to remodel some things. So there's always a gap when it comes to converting files. So you lose some data. But we definitely don't try to reinvent the wheel or remodel. We want to try to utilize what's there and either add to it or supplement it in some way so that we don't waste time remodeling. I think that's the important thing is trying to streamline that workflow so that you can use one model from start to finish. Now that's not it's the ideal situation, but we know that's not realistic right now where you just have one format and you can kind of go through. But things like IFC, like that's a file format that I think we've seen across the board that can be imported and exported, and you don't lose a lot of data. Even the embedded data comes through with formats like IFC, but also DWG is pretty good as far as being able to transfer over to different formats. So yeah, I would say in short, we try to find that format that allows us to utilize in the majority of the tools that we use, so that we don't have to remodel or redraw.
So it sounds like you guys are good and good at using all the tools you need to. I mean, I only bring it up because there are people out there who are always trying to minimize. Well, I don't want to use another tool for that. I don't, but it sounds like you use what you got to use, and it sounds like you guys have good processes for doing that.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Optimize that, lose as little as you can between translating from format to format, but use the right tool for the job. And that's where your expertise comes in, of course, to figure out what works best for what you want to do. So
yeah, absolutely.
So tying that back to the first point you made, as VDC manager, are you on top? And do you have all these things installed on your computer? Do you have like 3 laptops you take around?
I'm looking at my computer right now, and the entire toolbar across the bottom is like filled with like icons and stuff like that. So I probably do have the majority of them installed on my computer. Now, I mean, obviously I work with a team of people, and they're they have expertise in different softwares and things like that. And so I'm not the only one that has all of these tools. I'm not the sole person that's making all the magic happen. But I do have a lot. Because I have to have some understanding of the tool and that type of thing. But not everything, but it is a lot. And we have these big laptops and big screens and powerful pieces of equipment to help run that stuff. So
extra large tool belt.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with 10 tools, I mean, per project, at minimum, right? You gotta have a lot of that. So
yeah,
that's right. Big one. All right, let's check out some questions. But he's wondering if you have ever tried using PlusSpec, the extension for SketchUp.
No, I haven't heard of it. Is that for like specifications for drawings or projects?
It's a BIM authoring tool for SketchUp, so it adds a bunch of the data, the pieces. I think it's primarily a tool set. And I apologize. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone in the chat. But I think it's primarily geared around residential BIM for residential, which is kind of not what you guys shoot for the most part, right?
No, yeah. So when it comes to SketchUp, it's more a conceptual tool for us. So we're not producing documents or specifications. But I have heard of some tools. Condoc tools is a pretty good one. I think Michael Brightman, he's one of the folks that I've been in contact with and have worked with for years. He actually taught me how to use SketchUp. So, we stay in contact a lot about, his tools and what, value they bring to the table. So that's been a pretty good one that I've heard is good for documentation in SketchUp.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess, maybe both Joseph and Sebastian are mentioning that it's from Ruby Sketch is the company that makes it.
Okay.
Might be worth just taking a look at.
Yeah, I definitely will.
One more tool for your tool belt.
That's right.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Hello.
Hey, Jack.
Welcome.
Hey, Jack.
Welcome to SketchUp Talk.
Yeah. Well, it's almost midnight here.
Where are you calling in from?
Yeah, Amsterdam, near Amsterdam. So
Nice.
Holland. The Netherlands.
All right.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if you are using Trimble Connect in your process, because I think it's really booming with Trimble, the new Trimble Connect collaboration software.
Yeah, what specifically are you using? I know our field engineers use a lot of Trimble and Trimble Connect for like field layout and different things like that. What specifically are you all using that for or within Trimble Connect?
Yeah, and so did you meet the robot spot already from Boston Dynamics?
I'm familiar with it. It looks like a little dog, and it kind of goes around, and yeah. I'm familiar with. We don't use it, but I've seen it in the industry.
They also have the Hilti, the drill robot.
Okay.
So you mentioned that in the COVID age, things are getting more and more done by distance and virtual.
Definitely.
So you just program your robots and go away.
Yeah. No, that's a valid application of something like that where you have to work remotely and may not be able to be physically close to the project or to other people. I know that might be the one that they're using for scanning as well, or taking pictures or documenting. So that's definitely something that would help out in a situation like this where you do have some distance or social distancing between you and the project. We haven't used it personally. I think we're still using our robotic total stations with Trimble, but I have seen that as one of the newer, more innovative applications in the construction industry.
Yeah, great. And do you also use those point clouds to compare the original model? So
Yeah, definitely. We scan the majority of our projects. We do a lot of self-performed concrete, and we work on a lot of existing buildings where we come in and do renovation work. So we'd use laser scanning, whether that's with a Faro laser scanner or a Leica or Trimble. We go in and scan, capture those point clouds, and then we'll use that to then either create a model, or we'll use that point cloud to then do coordination with other systems. So if there's existing things there that we need to capture and then we need to run new systems, we'll use point clouds for that. Typically, we're using some Autodesk products. We've used Faro products. I know there's some plugins within SketchUp to use point clouds also. So we've kind of used the gamut depending on what the application is and what result or accuracy we want to get out of it. We've used all of them in between that.
nice.
Mhm.
Well, I could go on, but maybe someone else got some questions.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
No, I appreciate that, Jack. Thanks for those questions. Those are definitely good thoughts.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome to share some examples. I'm sure this is more of a talk, but I think it would be nice to see some real projects somewhere.
Yeah. I
think
definitely
there's a
agree.
blog or something about it. Maybe.
Actually, so Shannon did present at 2018 Base Camp, and his video
but that's
is
a
up
long
on our
time
YouTube
ago,
channel.
Aaron.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
That was
no
a long
robotic
time
dogs
ago.
rocking around in 2018.
It's something I know that we have. That's all I'm throwing out there. That's it.
Yeah. When is the next one is coming up though, right?
It is
the next
coming
year?
up. It's in 2022, September 26th through the 30th.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're
Yes,
looking forward to
we
that.
definitely look forward to that one. Vancouver.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it too.
Yeah, Jack. So maybe we can see some robot dogs at the 2022 Vancouver base camp.
Ooh,
Sounds fun.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
That would be.
I am making a note of that. Invite spot.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Jack.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Jack.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
You know, that is an interesting point that Jack brought up too. One of the things I'm gonna pick on the construction industry for just a second, but the construction industry is kind of known for maybe moving a little bit slower, being set in its ways on some things. Like you mentioned two major points that have kicked it forward. So the housing recession was a huge thing in the construction industry because everybody went, oh no, we need to figure out how to change what we're doing or we're not going to make it. And then COVID was one of the spots where, like you said, one of the few industries that was allowed to keep going was construction. So it got competitive and people had to figure out, how to set themselves apart. Do you guys in general keep an eye on new technologies? Do things, you mentioned point clouds, but are things like, I'm not saying Spot's going to be on a McCarthy job site in the next month or so, but is that the kind of stuff that you have in your mind somewhere as you work through your processes?
Yeah, we're always looking for new innovative ways to do things. When Jack mentioned the dog Spot, that reminded me of I was at a local construction technology event, and they were talking about exoskeletons, and that's one of those things where it's like, okay, we know about our craft workers and how the craft workers are not as there's not as many craft workers as there were before, and just trying to improve that on construction projects and how to reduce fatigue during the day, and knowing that you don't have a lot of labor. That's one of those things where it's like, hey, let's start looking at things like this where we can keep our craft workers, safe and healthy and being able to work for 8 hours, whether they're drilling in studs for 8 hours a day. That's going to take a toll on them. So things like getting an exoskeleton so that they don't have to hold that heavy tool all day. It's something that's going to aid them in doing their job a lot better. Or things like augmented reality. We've been looking at things like augmented reality for some years now, and it's kind of evolved a little bit. I think some of the things that it's kind of branched into is more of a consumer thing, where like the Pokemon Go and it's on the phone, and but we've been looking at it more on the construction side as like, how can we see things that we physically can't see, right? Things that may be behind a wall or underneath a slab, and if we know we have the model, maybe that augmented reality would help us kind of visualize and know where those things are. So I think there's always going to be that element there of being able to do research and development on new innovative ways to do things, whether that's with a model or whether that's just with being able to improve a process and make it more efficient and make ourselves more productive.
It seems like a fun part of the job where you're looking at the sci-fi technology stuff that you can implement on the job site. Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely fun for us, and that we have time for it. I wouldn't say we have a lot of time, because there's so many jobs going on that we want to execute our projects that are going on, and that's the majority of our support. But when we do have that time to kind of look at what's coming out there, and if what we're doing right now is the most efficient way, it does make it fun.
Mm-hmm.
I just heard that basically McCarthy is going to have Iron Man suits for their workers between the augmented reality and the exoskeleton. Add jet boots and you're pretty much superhero construction.
If you edit that, then yes, that's what I said.
Well, I
definitely look
think
at
we've
it,
peaked at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, what you mentioned earlier about, the construction industry moving a little bit slower. I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. We, at least within our company, we don't want to be on the bleeding edge. We want to be on the leading edge of technology. So we don't want to jump into something and, waste money. And then now we've got this burden of, okay, now what do we do with this technology we've invested so much in? We want to be on the leading edge where it's like, okay, it's been vetted. We know its actual value. Okay, now let's invest in it, before, the masses kind of do. So we always look at it that way too, even if it's a piece of software or if it's something that's going to enhance our whole company and maybe a bigger investment.
That sounds like the place to be.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, we're right about the spot where we got to wrap this up. Any last notes? Any last things you want to throw out there before we call it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate the opportunity to kind of, share my knowledge. I've always, like I said, I've always been, working with SketchUp, for a long time, and it's still a part of our tool set, on a regular basis. And, just a lot of the things that are, kind of coming, to the forefront now with, just being able to work remotely and collaborate remotely, I think is just going to improve the industry as a whole. Just the way we're working now and just the tools that are coming about. So just going to help us be able to build better buildings.
Seems like that's probably the goal, right? The best building possible.
That definitely is the goal. That definitely is the goal.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you very much for hanging out with us today, Shannon. This was a very enlightening talk. I got a lot about what it is you do, how you do it, and I'm impressed. So thank you once again. Yeah,
Matt and Aaron, I definitely appreciate it. Aaron, I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon, hopefully at base camp, maybe before that. So we'll definitely talk
absolutely.
soon.
Look forward to it. All right. Thank you very much, Shannon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate it. See y'all.
Bye. Excellent. Well, yeah, that was another excellent episode of SketchUp Talk, if I do say so yourself and Shannon's self. You guys were great, and he dropped a lot of great knowledge in there, and super interesting to hear about all of his experience with VDC management and with SketchUp. So to all of you out there, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye.
This has been a Trimble Media production. Thank you for listening to SketchUp Talk. If you liked what you heard here today and you have an idea for an episode or a guest, you can drop us an email at podcast@sketchup.com. If you have a specific question related to how to do something,